Other than some basic functions, social media also contributed to cooperative decision-making on the movement. For instance, protesters used the fire chat as a platform to make crucial decisions such as whether to occupy CCHU or not. Besides, it was also used for promoting different ideas. During the movement, students tried to encourage citizens to join their movement, and the discussion on Facebook really became a hotspot. For example, on the day that students invaded the Ford Court outside government headquarters, more than 1.3 million messages were posted on different social media spontaneously. What's more, social media also brought Occupy movement a larger impact on the rest of the world. Photos and videos about the protests directly from the scene were uploaded to social media websites and could thus be seen by very social media users around the world. Consequently, protesters received more support and recognition from foreign countries. However, some online debates and discussions were restricted to a certain extent under censorship. As the protest kicked off, Weibo deleted a record 152 posts for every 10,000, 5 times higher than normal, and all the searches with keywords like Hong Kong student or Occupy movement could not result in Weibo, as under certain laws and regulations. In terms of anti-Occupy movement, they also use social media to make their side of opinion. Facebook pages named Love Hong Kong Movement and Anti-Occupy Central were set up, providing a platform for anti-Occupy groups to share articles and discuss issues of anti-Occupy Central movement. Besides, some Hong Kong celebrities who are anti-Occupy used Weibo to disclose some other celebrities who were for the Umbrella Revolution and led to a mainland Weibo outrage. As for the central government, they mainly use Twitter and Weibo as tools. China Xinhua News posted several news through its Twitter account on Weibo, such as CY Leung considering to disclose evidence of external interference, making people believe the movement be manipulated by outsiders instead of local Hong Kong citizens. Besides, it presented a managed picture about the occurrence of large-scale anti-Occupy movements on Weibo, which tried to make netizens from mainland China to believe that the Occupy movement was only supported by few and was against by the majority's view in Hong Kong. What happened online also brought offline interactions between two sides. A few of the protesters have been reported to be taken away by mainland Chinese government. One was released after being detained briefly and told he or she could not to travel to either Beijing or Hong Kong. And some student leaders of the Occupy movement were also rejected by the Immigrant Department, which raised heated discussion on Facebook.
While social media platforms like Facebook and FireChat certainly played a major role during the Occupy movement, we believe that it would still have occurred even if social media didn't exist. A fundamental reasoning is that the protests, similar to the Occupy movement, had taken place numerous times before social media was invented, with the help of more traditional means of communication such as text messages, emails, printed media, and etc. For example, in 2001, the protest against the trial of Philippine President Joseph Estrada was mainly organized and communicated via text messages. In more ancient revolutions in China, as around 1900s, printed media like newspapers and magazines pushed the discussion among educated people, who eventually composed the revolutionary team. In the meantime, protests organized with the help of social media didn't all succeed. For instance, the 2010 Red Shirt uprising in Thailand employed a variety of social media platforms, including Facebook and Twitter, to organize the protests and advocate serious arguments, but it was still quickly suppressed by the government. These cases clearly demonstrate that the successful occurrence of such movements are not so closely related to whether they involve social media or not. It is still the offline circumstances like social and economic factors that have a much more dominant influence. Furthermore, cyber utopians who argue that the existence of social media gives anyone using them the opportunity to spread their ideas and initiate such movements often ignore the fact that leaders of the protests on social media also function as leaders of offline organizations that are the major coordinator of the movements. In this case, the online leader Joshua Wong was also the core member of scholarism. Aside from campaigns on social media, they also engaged in multiple other offline channels like posters, magazines, and public speeches. Another strong evidence supporting the cyber-realistic view is that the most important turning point for the entire movement, retaking Civic Square at the night of September 26th, was almost organized and carried out in a completely traditional way, without the involvement of social media. The decision was made after an offline meeting among several of the campaign's leaders, like Joshua Wong and Oscar Lai, and the message was conveyed through loudspeakers on the spot. This also aligns with the view that active participation, compared with selectivism, is much more influential to social movement success.
Modern-day public sphere comes with following strengths. The first one being rapidly growing social media fuels the transition from hub-and-spoke architecture to multi-directional distribution networks and make individual communications way more convenient than before. In addition, enormous amount of news channels and resources make it much easier for citizens to make an informed decision. By using live stream videos, the decision-making process is opened up even further, so that people who would normally be unable to participate due to spatial separations are now able to participate in the democratic decision-making process. Furthermore, social media have the potential to level up public interactions by giving individuals the opportunity to participate on less intimate levels. Those who are unwilling to sleep at the camps or join in the marches can still support the movement through Facebook, Twitter, blogs, etc. However, it does come with several drawbacks. Social media could harm political participations in a way that people may feel that online interactions are more than adequate and offline activities such as joining General Assembly unnecessary. At the same time, civil discourse could be hurt by having so many unregulated voices, opinions, and discussions which often degrade into petty off-topic arguments on public forums. Simultaneously, more information circulating could mean more misleading or illegitimate statements, unduly influencing the decision-making process with their falsities. Another concern is raised by commodification. Dao Green argues that modern democratic is no longer a system expressing the will of the people, but rather one which offers consumers a series of choices. Our last concern is biased public opinion. Social groups like underprivileged and the old, who cannot fully utilize the internet, could be muted and neglected in the formation of public opinions.
As for the improvement, we mainly discussed from three important stakeholders: citizens, existing mainstream social media, and local nonprofit organizations. For citizens, we suggest that they should be open and rational. The development of social media greatly increases the amount of information people are exposed to, and increases the chance to get misconducted at the same time. Thus, citizens should make use of the convenience of getting information of different stances, sources, and types to avoid being biased and being misled. Some people in the video clip already raised the question of credibility of information on social media platforms. To judge opinions critically can help us get closer to the truth. Furthermore, most citizens share the aim of pursuing democracy and establishing a better society, just through different approaches. Therefore, if they want to persuade the other side, rational discussion will be more efficient and convincing than abusing, and it also does good to improving social media public sphere. From social media companies' point of view, by developing accessibility features like voiceover, larger font, they can attract more social groups to be involved in the exchange of opinions on their platforms, which could boost company profit as well as enlarge the online public sphere. As for the local nonprofit organizations, they may work with small media-related companies to engage in the development of localized apps like FireChat and Code for Hong Kong. From the company side, these kind of apps may attract many local users as they are targeted at people experiencing the event or on the scene, featuring instant or even offline communications. And these apps can also profit from local sponsorship and advertisements as it owns targeted users. Thus, there are incentives for companies together with non-profit organizations to promote these kind of social media platforms, which at the same time encourages communications among local people and improve the social media public sphere.